Welcome back to my workshop. Mike McConville here, Stratford, Ontario, Canada for String Tech Workstations. We've got this black Les Paul Studio that came up from Wisconsin. Got to show you the string spacing at the nut on this. This is a factory nut. Anyway, we're changing the nut, so it's not a big deal. He sent it up to get a compensated nut and the full setup like you saw on that R9. Have a look at the string spacing on this Gibson nut. This is right from the factory. Boy, oh boy, somebody had a bad day. Look at the space between the low E and the A string. Are you kidding me? Can't believe they let that go out. So we're going to heat that up, slip it out, and we're putting a compensated nut on with perfect string spacing, and it will be perfectly in tune. Well, we are about to start on the replacement compensated nut, fret, dress, crown, and polish, which is basically a mirror image of the job that you just saw me do on that bird's eye maple Les Paul. Okay, so we'll pull this pick guard off. Okay, so this is that narrow strap that I mentioned in the last video that allows you to sort of strap down the Les Paul waist and leaving the strings free to vibrate. Okay, so we're going to swap out that neck assembly. So here's the string spacing from the factory for this Gibson Les Paul. Really phenomenal. There is the nut that came off that cherry burst bird's eye maple. There's the string spacing for that. Well, they weren't quite as generous with the wire on that neck pickup as they were on the last one, but that's okay. We got it wrapped. There's some foam underneath it in a Ziploc bag. It's out of the way. So I ended up cutting a fresh mask for this Les Paul. I've already gone over the fingerboard and got all of the high spots. It looks like this one was CNC'd. I'm pretty sure. Oh wow, that's, I don't know how I missed that. So anyway, they're all marked, all ready to go. We're going to leave that for now because we need to take that nut out. We heated that up for 4 minutes. I'm going to warm up the knife on the buffer. Soften that lacquer so I can score all the way around. You can see how that lacquer has built up over top of this back edge of the nut. So, got to score that first, or you're, especially on a black guitar, you're going to know it. Okay, and then just a little square mark across the bottom and here as well. Other side, same thing. It remains to be seen whether we're going to be able to pull this. Because of all the super glues that are being used now, it's not as easy as it used to be. If I have to split this nut to get it out, I will. And I'm not feeling any type of give in there at all. So plan B. Got a couple of tongue depressors. I even canted that edge to get us right in tight. We're going to have to split this in half in order to get it out. So we're protecting the headstock as we do this, and we're protecting the fingerboard. So I'm starting with a very thin blade, a 10 thou kerf, and I'm going to chase a center line right across the center of that nut. So I'm definitely not interested in preserving this original nut because the string spacing is, as you saw earlier, it's a mile out. So we're going to split this in half. Again, started with that 10 thou kerf. Now around the other side, working our way towards the center. Still the thin blade, 10 thou. What I'm doing here is I'm trying to get a center line that goes right across the entire nut with this thin blade. I'm not going full depth with the 10 thou, but just kind of getting it started. We want to be able to cover our tracks so when this whole job is done, we don't leave any marks whatsoever. Okay, this is actually a 22 thou kerf, And this is the Japanese saw. Of course, it cuts on the pull stroke. It's a little bit thicker saw again. I'm going to go a little deeper this time. Okay, now we're getting closer to the final depth. We're going to open it up just a little bit more. Now, this blade gives us a nice, long, even stroke. Checking as we go. No, we got a little ways to go yet. I have that blade reversed, so it's cutting on the pull stroke as well. You have a lot more control on the pull stroke. You ever looked at those Japanese joinery books? I mean, you can see how these guys get those amazing wood joints. The reason you have so much more control on the pull stroke as opposed to the push stroke is I have my entire body mass against the pull of the blade, so much less likely to slip. So kind of check this on this side. No, still looking pretty good. Not much more. We're just about ready to reheat. Okay, we are ready to reheat. So these nuts that are glued in with the super glue, they tend to come out like an impacted tooth. So back to that hair dryer. So I go 4 minutes on high. Okay, there's our 4 minutes. I'm not holding out much hope in being able to actually pull this. Whoop. But let's see how we do. It's definitely going to come out in pieces. So a little block here that can kind of loosen that front edge very gently. I doubt if I'm going to be able to pull that, but I'll try. No, it's just going to break. So if that's the case, no point messing around with it. Yeah, as I predicted, it's coming out like an impacted tooth. I feel like a dentist. Nah, it is not cooperating at all. Yeah, I'm good. When you get a guitar like this, you'll know right away when you grab it and heat it that first time whether it's going to come out or not. This one was definitely not coming out. And that's okay. I don't know if you can see this or not. Let me bring you a little closer. Well, you're very fortunate to be able to witness this, because this is the worst case scenario for a Les Paul nut. See that little flap of black lacquer? This is why you need to work from the outside in to get a nice crisp square ledge for your new nut. Boy, you guys are fortunate. You're so fortunate to be able to actually see this. This is the worst case scenario. It'll be perfect when we're done, but you can see how precarious it is when they super glue those nuts in. Well, despite the impacted tooth syndrome, we got that out nice and clean, and we got our compensated nut blank, nice press fit. So now that that's done, we're going to take care of all the fret issues. These are 11 to 49 strings at concert pitch. Different story, moving target. We'll start by masking off the soft plastic inlay before we get started, like we did on that last Les Paul. So I did chalk off all those spots that were high spots, and they will light right up as soon as I start leveling. can go clean through without that nut obstructing the path of the file. We're getting all the high spots full length. As I mentioned in the last video, I had a cross hatching. So that cross hatching motion as you gliss over the crowns of the fret allows that flat file to follow the radius and catch all of the high spots along the string path. Alrighty, here we go. All the leveling's been done. We got our 400 grit here. Got 2 pieces of 400 grit. That's the first piece. Second piece. Scrubbing those crowns right back to dead center. Get our 600. Just slip it along the block a little bit. Slip it back. This way you get kind of maximum use out of that little piece of sandpaper. Second piece of 600. Scott sent this all the way up from Wisconsin. I'm going to go the extra mile here. We got some crazy ultra-fine emery cloth. And then we'll buff it out. And that's what we got. That's before buffing. All the discrepancies are taken care of. Of course, that compensated nut blank is already cut. We'll be on to that next. Final buff. Zero slack in that machining now. Let me give this a little bit of help as well. Didn't need a lot, but you know, it's the difference from this to this. Have to admit, those cast holes in the bridge are a beautiful match to those posts. There's no slop there. So now we're totally on the home stretch here. The compensated nut blank is done. All the fretwork is done. So we'll just set up that bridge, cut the compensated nut values, and then do all the final adjustments. The 7th fret note and corresponding octave are in tune all the way across. So the bridge is done. So next step, we fret the 12th fret note, and I'm actually tuning to that note. So that is the map that we ended up with. We're going to start with that low E string, tuning to that 12th fret fretted note. And yeah, we're looking about 8 cents sharp. So we're going to cut that back. I'm aiming the direction of that slot to the inside of the dedicated post. And the other thing I'm doing is I'm making sure that I ramp that slot down so that the highest point is the leading edge. Let's check it again. Fretted 12th fret. Still sharp. One more time. Okay, we've arrived. Now that fretted note, still sharp. So the last thing we're doing is bringing the depth of that slot down so that the open string and the 1st fret note are both in tune. I'll have to come down much, just a little bit. That's it. This one string out of 6 is perfectly in tune. 7th fret, corresponding octave, 12th fret note, open string, and 1st fret note. That 6th string is done. Now we're on to the A string. I know it had to come back 8 cents, so I'm not going to mess around here. Let's cut that back right away. So 5th string, 12th fret fretted note. Oh no, still way sharp. 2 things I'm going to do. I'm going to deepen that slot, and at the same time I'm going to direct that slot to the inside of the A string post. You need to verify for sure that the leading edge is the highest part in that slot. And I'm sure it is now, so we'll check this again. Twelfth fret, fretted note, A string. Still sharp, way sharp. So you know it's got to come back. That was about 5 cents sharp, so. Fretted note and open string. Hey, that's good. Now the 1st fret note, still ever so slightly sharp. So we're going to deepen that slot just ever so slightly. So now we'll deepen that slot just to get that A string and 1st fret note to line right up. So you know this note and this note are in tune. What about that 1st fret? That tune or wavering is the traffic going by on the street, but take my word for it, it's in tune. So now the 6th string and the 5th string are perfectly in tune. On to the D string. Okay, that's way sharp. So we know that was 10 cents sharp on our map. So again, we're not wasting any time here. And at the same time, I'm going to check that slot to make sure we got the right slope on there. Okay, it's still a little bit sharp, about 3 cents sharp. Okay, here's our fretted note. Open. And fretted. It's a little bit sharp. So that E flat on the first fret is a little bit sharp. So we're going to bring that down a little tiny bit. No, still a little bit sharp. It's got to come back a little more. So fretted and open. Okay, that's it. First fret and first fret. Man, that's I'm happy with that. That's very close. So the third string needs to come back 7 cents. And typically the third string has the largest amount of displacement, so it's the one that's pushed the most forward. So just take a little bit off of here. So 12th fret. Okay, that's good. Ooh, that's way sharp. Okay. Our values as far as the compensated nut are good, but the slot's too high, so that first fret note is fretting way sharp. These are 11 to 49 strings, so that's going to be an 18 thou. So I'm going to check that 12th fret again and open. No, it's still a little sharp, and the first fret is sharp as well. So I'm going to bring that back a little bit further first. Here's a point to keep in mind. When you're reducing the overhang and bringing the string back further, you got to remember that you've been filing down like this. So the string is automatically going to drop a little bit as it goes further into the nut. Just wanted to point that out. There we go. And first fret. Oh man, I'm not messing with that. That's super close. Okay, so next string. Okay, so we know the B was 13 cents sharp. That needs to come back the furthest. So again, let's not mess around. We'll get right down to it. Fretted 12th and open. Still a little sharp. Still a little sharp. And open. Still a little sharp. And here, still sharp. Okay. Try that again. Yeah, that one's done. Okay. And our first string was 11 cents sharp. So we'll move that way back. Again. Oh, a tiny little bit sharp. Let's see what that gives us. So 12th fret. And first fret. Okay, a little tiny bit high. File that down ever so slightly. It's easy to sort of direct the string when I'm got that aerial view. Try that again. Let's check that. And first fret. Okay. All of the values are done. Now we make it look pretty. So before we go shaping anything, I just wanted to show you what we've got. So why do I have that stopwatch up there? Because this is Scott's Les Paul Studio. It is absolutely perfectly in tune. I have to be honest with you guys, here's the reality check. That's the third attempt. All of you guys that are doing this, you'll find out very quickly that you don't answer the phone, you don't talk to a customer while you're doing this. You want absolute total silence, and you want 100% concentration. I'm just saying, even myself, you know, I had a customer come to the door, the telephone rang. Man, you want 100% concentration when you're doing this. But the main thing is, it's done. So these are the values. Let's see how well the camera picks this up. These are the values of the 11 to 49 strings tuned to concert pitch on the Les Paul scale. Let's take a look at that other Les Paul. And this is our Bird's Eye Maple Burst standard, and it is 10 to 46 at concert pitch, and those are the values for the compensated nut for this one. So now that both Les Pauls are done, sort of side by side, step by step, it's one thing to look at them. Let's have a listen. Let's bring them into the studio and have a listen to just how accurate the tuning is. And we'll take a listen to this one as well. And let's have a listen to this one, 11 to 49 at concert pitch, Scott's Studio Les Paul. So the reason I had that stopwatch up there is because this time, third time through when I went to do this compensated nut, I thought, that's it. No camera, no talking, no telephone. Let me go A to Z. That is the time it took to do this third compensated nut and get it perfect. 55 minutes and 4 seconds. So this puts it into perspective for you guys. Like I know a lot of you guys out there are doing this now, and I'm sure you're going through all the frustrations that my students went through, and I go through myself, as just illustrated from time to time. But when you get it right, and it's clickety-click, and everything goes as smooth as glass, you can do this job in under an hour. So there's the bass side. There's the treble side. There's the treble side. There's the bass side. And these are the values for the 10 to 46 at concert pitch on this standard. So a couple of last things I want to sort of compare apples to apples, one Les Paul to the other. On this one, there was absolutely no need for doing a wraparound. There's still plenty of space on the underside of that string, and that tailpiece is pretty well cranked right down. So no wraparound on this Les Paul. However, on this Cherry Burst, we did indeed go to a wraparound bridge. So the point I'm trying to make is it's not an arbitrary call to do a wraparound bridge. It all depends on the neck set. In this case, in order for the strings to clear the casting on the back of the bridge, without a wraparound, this tailpiece would have been hiked up way too high. Now we've got it cranked right down to the body. The strings are nice and tight on all the saddles all the way across, and we've got that clearance on the back of the casting. So, wraparound and no wraparound. A perfectly regulated Cherry Burst Bird's Eye Maple Les Paul standard. Put our little pink slip over there. I always love these Gibson cases. And that is it, perfectly regulated. And this customer's tuning problems are over forever. Case closed. Scott's Les Paul Studio, set up for 11 to 49 strings of concert pitch. That weird string spacing and the tuning problems will now be a distant memory. One more Les Paul, case closed.